We Likewise, if gathered olives become mixed up with nuke of olives, gathered grapes with gleaned grapes, and if he can bribe from elsewhere, he takes according to the calculation. But if not, he takes truma and truma meiser for the whole, and for the rest, meiser and meiser sheni according to the calculation. If one takes leaven from wheaten dough and puts it in rice dough, if it has the taste of cereal, it's liable to challah. But if not, it's an exempt. If so, what did they say? Tevel renders forbidden any quantity of its own kind, but of a different kind, and imparts flavor. And if a woman made from two calves and they touch one another, even if they are the same kind, they are exempt. If they belong to one woman of the same kind, they are liable. Of different kinds, they are exempt.
Okay.
Oh, wait a second. I'm sorry.
Right. So now, yeah. Daled base. Ezehu min v'mino. So the previous Mishnah was talking about the case, just to remind you, of one woman who's made two batches of dough out of different types of flour. Um, and each one is less than a kav, but together they make more than 5/4 of a kav. Okay. And they were baked in the same oven and they touched each other. And so now we said min b'mino, they're going to join together and she has to take challah. And if not min b'mino, then she's parted from challah. Okay. What's min b'mino, says our Mishnah? Hachitim eina mittafos im hakol ela im hakusmin. So the first thing is wheat is a standalone case except for spelt, because spelt is similar enough to wheat that it's considered min b'mino. Okay, so orim, barley, mitzvah im hakol chutz min hachitin. And on the other side, barley is similar enough to everything else that it's considered min b'mino, except for wheat, of course, because we just said that wheat doesn't join with everything else. It's like one of these little logic puzzles of how can you get everything to sit together or whatever. Anyway, and Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri Omer Shar Haminim Mitztarfim Zeim Zeh. So he is a Das Yachid, and he says, well, actually, all of the other species that are not mentioned are compatible with each other. And the halacha is like Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri. So basically, the only thing that's not compatible with everything else is wheat, which only once you summarize everything, the wheat stands alone except for with spelt, and spelt is with everything. Okay. Shnei kavim v'kav orez. Okay, so you got kav orez or kav truma be'emtza. Okay, so here's our situation. You got two big lumps of dough, each of which is a kav. So by themselves, they're pater.
Right.
Okay, but so you got two, and now there's a there's another kav of dough in the middle, but it's rice flour, or it's truma dough. Which what's in common between rice dough and truma dough is that both of them are pater from challah. You don't take challah from truma, and you don't take truma from rice. So now basically you've got three kavs in the story over here. Okay, two regular wheat flour kavs on the outside, and in the middle is a kav of a kind of a dough that intrinsically has no connection to challah. Okay, and they einan mitztarfin. So they don't join. The kav in the middle is like a break between the two on the outside. Davar shenitla chalaso emtza. So now here we have three batches of dough, all wheat flour, but the middle one he already took challah from. Okay, so now you've got one on the outside that is still tevel dough, that's less than the shear, and on the other side another batch that's less than the shear, and another batch of wheat dough in the middle that's pater from challah. But why? Because he already took challah from the dough. Okay, mitztarfin, those ones join. Shekvar nischayev b'challah, because the joining is being done by something that is at least in the parsha of challah. In the previous case, we said it was rice flour or it was truma flour. There's no din of challah at all. Yeah, it's parted from challah because you've already taken the challah, but it still joins the two outside pieces and makes everything into one batch. And
That's
now
okay.
and now the two covers on the outside join together so that they have to have challah taken from them.
Okay.
Okay,
Separately, each one, each side.
you can have them all done together, but that's
Right.
interesting that that you mentioned because our next case in the Mishnah is going to deal with one with an interesting case where you can't take from both of them together, but they nonetheless join to create a chiyuv of challah. That's a kav chadash and a kav yashan. Okay, two batches of flour. One was held in cold storage or something. I'm not sure how they did this in the Mishnah, but whatever. It survived. It survived a year in storage. Um, or basically it's so Tua Chadasha, right from a different year. Okay, now very much like with Trumas and Mastros, where you cannot take from the old for the new, even if
Right.
even if they've survived from year to year. Like I mean, potatoes, you could have potatoes going from year to year. I suppose if you keep them in the ground, or onions. Okay, but if you got potato onions from this year's harvest and onions from last year's harvest, and they all need to have Trumas and Mastros taken from them, you cannot take them together. They're from different harvests. And the same thing
Okay.
goes with challah. If the flour comes from wheat that was milled that was harvested in a previous year, it cannot be you cannot take challah from that to exempt the dough that was made from flour that was in from this year. Okay, but what's your situation? You've got a cup of one and a cup of the other that were baked next to each other,
Right.
and they bit into each other. So now we're definitely chayiv in challah because two batches of dough that are both chayiv. Okay. Rabbi Yishmael Omer Yitol Mina Emtza. So Rabbi Yishmael says, okay, here's your Eitzah. How are you going to take challah to exempt everything? You take it from the middle of the two batches. Okay, so that it looks like you're taking one. You're taking one batch basically in order to be
Yeah.
um, in order to exempt your dough from the challah. But the Chachamim say that doesn't look good. Why? Because it looks like you're taking from the old for the new or from the new for the old. So they say what you have to do, you have to rather take one. You have to take a piece from the old on the outside and a piece from the new on the outside. Okay. Hanotel chala min hakav. Now, what happens if somebody decides that he's got less than the shear of chala, and he takes chala anyway? Okay, and then that's fine. I mean, we often do that. We often, because of Safek, we'll be machmir and we'll take a little bit of challah just to make sure that we've done the job and zehu. Okay, but why does the Mishnah have a shaila on it? Because um, because now he decided, you know something, I've taken my challah from this batch, but now I want to add some more. I want to add some more dough into this, and now he takes this and pushes it over the shear that it actually is chayav in challah. So now, what's the din of the dough and of the challah? Rabbi Akiva Omer challah. He says, okay, retroactively, it turns out that this was challah for the whole batch, and it's valid. Chachamim omrim eina challah. And the Chachamim say it was a meaningless act in the first place when you took it apart, and it wasn't chayav. So what you took apart is not challah, and the dough that you've left behind is still tevel, and you have to take challah again.
Okay. That was
And we're going to see in the next Mishnah tomorrow that actually the positions will reverse in another circumstance, but I don't want to give any spoilers.
okay. Olive Vav, Olive Hay.
Yeah.
Dough which was first sponge cake and in the end sponge cake is exempt from challah. First dough in the dough and the first dough and in the end sponge cake, first sponge cake in the end dough, it is liable to challah, and so we are kanuba cakes liable. The Messiah flour paste, Beis Shammai exempts, but Beis Hillel declares liable. La Chalitza flour paste, Beis Shammai declares liable, but Beis Hillel exempts. The cakes of the thank offering and the wafers of the Nazarite, if he made them for himself, are exempt to sell in the market, and they are liable. If a banker made leaven to divide it up, it is
Bake them.
liable to.
Bakers
Sorry?
Bakers do this, not
Oh,
bankers.
banker. If a banker made leaven to divide it up, it is liable to challah. If women gave it to a baker to bake for their living, then there is not any of them them in sufficient measure. It is exempt from challah. I'm getting tongue tied over here. Okay, all right. One more
Masters,
one. That's it. Interest.
I
Okay.
believe so.
Okay.
There was one more. Just let me just check that again.
That was three.
That's it. That's it. Yeah, that was three.
Okay.
Okay,
Maestro.
base stuff.
Base dollar. Here we go. If one separated truma from produce before the conclusion of work on it, Reb boy, I'm telling you, Reb Eliezer forbids to eat of it a chance meal, but the common permit except from a large basket of figs. If one separated truma from a large basket of figs, Reb Shimon permits, but the sages forbid. If one says to his fellow, "This here is this Issa, and give it to me for 5 figs," he may not eat before tithing them. So says Rav Meir, but Rav Yehuda says if he eats one by one, he's exempt. But if together, he is liable. Rav Yehuda said once it happened in a rose garden in Yerushalayim that 3 or 4 figs were being sold for an Isser, and Truma and Meiser were never separated from them. If one says to his fellow, "Here is the Issa for 10 figs which I shall select," he may select and eat them. For a cluster of grapes, this I shall select, and he may pick the grapes and eat them. For a pomegranate that I shall select, he may pick the seeds and eat them. For a melon that I shall select, he may cut slices and eat. But if he said to him, "For these 20 figs, or these 2 clusters of grapes, or for these 2 pomegranates, or for these 2 melons," he may eat them in his usual manner and is exempt because he brought them while they were still attached to the ground. Okay.
Okay, Kilayim, Aleph Tes.
Okay. If one buries turnips or horseradish under a vine and some of the leaves are uncovered, he need not be concerned about Kalayim or about the sabbatical year or about maestros, or they may be extracted on the Sabbath. If one sows wheat and barley together, that is Kalayim. Rabbi Yehuda says it is not Kalayim unless there are 2 wheat grains and 1 barley grain, or 1 wheat grain and 2 barley grains, or a wheat grain, a barley grain, and a stalk grain. If a saw contains a quarter of another kind, he must reduce it. Reb Yossi says he must eliminate whether it is of one kind or 2 kinds. And Reb Shimon says that they said it is only of one kind, but it can come and say any kalayim within the saw combines to make up a quarter. Okay.
And base.
Base base?
Yeah, also base.
Okay. And when does this apply? Grain with what? Grain with grain and pulse with pulse, grain with pulse and pulse with grain. Rightly, they say garden seeds which are not used as the food combine to make up 24th of that which falls into a beitzah. Rabbi Shimon says just as they declared this to be stringent, so they also declared to be lenient. Flax combines with grain to make up 1/24th of that which falls into a beitzah. Okay. I'm tongue-tied today. Guyam.
The Goyim.
Okay, Gimel base. A cornerstone which the owner is required to remove must be completely removed. For when he is required to demolish it, he demolishes his side and leaves his neighbor's side. The results in the stringency in the amount of the stones over the demolition of the house. If Elazar says a house built with main support and smallest materials where the negger appears on the main port, the owner is required to remove all of it where it appears on the smaller vessels. He removes the side and leaves his neighbor's side. If a house on which a negger appears as an upper story, the beams are considered part of the upper story. If the negger appears in the upper story, the beams are considered part of the lower story. If there is no upper story, the house stones, wood, clay are demolished with it, but not the roof tiles, and the lattices are the windows. If Yehuda says the frame built on the top of the lower story is demolished with it, it's stone, wood, and clay rendered tamei as long as they are the size of an olive. If Elazar Kisma says as small as they are. A confined house makes a person tamei from within, and a confined house makes tamei from within and without. Both make tamei upon entering.
Abos.
Okay. Why am I?
You made that little simon in the middle of your Mishnah.
One who recognizes place, one who is happy with his lot, one who makes a fence around his affairs, does not take credit for himself, is beloved, loves the omnipresent, loves people, loves the ways of righteousness, loves reproofs, loves straightforwardness, distances himself from honor, whose heart does not become honored again because of his learning, who does not enjoy rendering halakhic decisions, shares his fellow's burden, judges him favorably, sets him on the path of truth, and sets him on the path of peace, who is selected in a study, asks and answers, hears and adds, and one who studies in order to teach, and one who studies in order to practice, and one who makes his teacher wiser, one who actually repeats what he heard, and one who says something over in the name of the one who originally said it. For you have learned this, that whoever says something over in the name of the one who originally said it brings redemption to the world, as it is stated, and Esther informed the king in Mordecai's name. Great is Torah, that it confers life on its practitioners in this world and the world to come, as it states, for they are to life to those who find them, and a healing for all flesh. It states it will be health for your navel and marrow to your bones, and it states it is a tree of life for those who grasp it, and its supporters are fortunate. And it states, for they are an adornment of grace for your head and a chain for your neck. And it states, it will set an adornment of grace upon your head. It will bestow a crown of splendor upon you. And it states, for through me your days will be increased, and they will increase years of life for you. And it states, length of days is his right, and its left wealth and honor. And fitting for the world, as it is stated, the crown of splendor is ripe old age. It will be found in the path of righteousness, and it states, the splendor of youth is their strength, and the glory of the elders is their holiness. And it states, the crown of the wise is their wealth. And it states, the crown of elders is grandchildren, and the glory of children is their parents. And it states, the moon will be humiliated, and the sun will be shamed. For Hashem, Master of Legions, will have reigned in Mount Zion and in Jerusalem, and there will be honor for his elders. So Shimon Manasseh says there are 7 qualities that the sages enumerated as fitting for the righteous. All of them were found in Rebbe and his sons.
Okay.
That's it.
And Kesubos, yeah, that's all. That's all. Avos is funny Masechta. Like the first few prakim is like 3-line Mishnayos.
Right.
And then comes Perek Vav, and it's like, wow.
I really enjoy that sector. If a woman said, I was married, but I am divorced, she is believed. For the one that created the liability is the one that undid it. If, however, there are witnesses that she was married and she says, I am divorced, she is not believed. If she said, I was captured, but I am undefiled, she is believed. For the one that created the liability is the one that undid it. If there are witnesses that she was captured, however, and she says, I am undefiled, she is not believed. But if after she marries, witnesses came, and she need not leave. If 2 women were captured now, and now this one says, I was captured, but I'm undefiled, and this one says, I was captured, but I am undefiled, they are not believed. If they testify for one another, however, they are believed. So too in the case of 2 men, in which this one says, I am a Kohen, and this one says, I am a Kohen, they are not believed. If they testify for one another, however, they are believed. Okay. All right.
Hey,
One more.
yeah, that's it. That's all.
All right, great.
Okay.
So we'll see what happens tomorrow. I'll wait for you.